Namaste, soul tribe, Venus lovers, friends, and family, the unification of divine polarities. There's some really amazing energy coming in the skies above us in the coming weeks during the month of February. It is going to be the Venus and Mars conjunction. This is a special conjunction because it is happening right over the planet of Pluto. So there is a little bit more depth to this, a little bit more spiritual energy to it. It's not just relationships and the courage and bravery to go for it. It is literally a transformation and a unification of the divine polarities. So I'm going to get right into it. I want to show you the sky first. Then I want to show you the solar system. And I want to show you another reason why this interaction with Pluto is so incredibly important. Just taking in the position of where things are around us, it really got my brain just on fire about this energy coming to us. So let me share the screen. We'll get into it. Oh man, I'm so excited to share this with you guys. Let's do this. So first, before we get into any charts or any astrology, let's just do some astronomy. Okay, this is stellarium-web.org. You can go to this website. It is free. You can put in the date and time. You can take the constellations in or out. You can take the landscape in or out. You can move this around. You can zoom in. You can zoom out. It's fantastic. So what you see right now is I have the line art and the constellational art overlaying in the sky. So in other words, this is what it actually looks like. If the sun were not as bright as it were and we could dim it out a little bit, this is what we would see in the night sky or in the daytime sky around noon on the 5th of February. But because it is, so I'll show you what it looks like right here. So that's what it would look like. So we're going to take the atmosphere out so we can appreciate this. And we're just going to put this line art in so that we can see the constellations a little bit better. Okay, as you can see on the 5th of February, the sun is smack dab in the middle of Capricorn. Mercury is, you can't see Pluto on this software for some reason, but it's right there next to Mercury. That is the dividing line between Sagittarius and Capricorn, and both are just at 0 degrees of Capricorn at this moment in time when we have this displayed. Mars is heading towards Pluto and into Capricorn. Venus is getting closer and closer to Mars. She moves faster than Mars, so she is going to literally overtake Mars once they conjoin one another right at Pluto and right on the cusp of Sagittarius and Capricorn. They perfect their conjunction on February 22nd. That's right, 222. So there's this angel number part of it as well. For those of you numerology guys, those of you that love numbers. Here's another neat thing you can do. You can go to any date and time. You can actually go back about 3,000 years. It's pretty cool. We're going to go up just one day at a time. And you can see there's a new moon on the 9th. Venus is catching up to Mars. They're both moving into the spot where Mercury just was. Here they get closer and closer. They dive into Capricorn together, perfect their conjunction on the 22nd, and then begin their slow separation. And their orbs of influence cease affecting one another right around March 8th. And that's using an 8-degree orb. They're bigger because they're personal planets, and so they're closer to us. They affect us more. Right after that, a month later, is the total solar eclipse, the Great American Total Solar Eclipse, where the entire sun will be blacked out over certain parts of the United States for about 20 minutes. It's going to be pretty amazing. I'm going to actually travel about 3 hours away and camp out, and on that Monday, just enjoy that eclipse. I'm super excited. I'll actually be between jobs, which will be very interesting because no one can call me about anyone while I am about any of my patients because I won't have any. It's going to be crazy. So there you have it. That's space. The next part of space, we're just going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to just get on top of the solar system. So this right here is the Sky Live 3D solar system. And we're just kind of zooming in, zooming out. As you get closer, you can see all the personal planets. This is set to February 5th. This is Earth. You can actually move this around too. This is pretty cool. So if you were to zoom in and stand on Earth, this is what you would see. And isn't that perfect? Because that's the Milky Way is right there. But I want you to just move your gaze a little bit further back and look at where Pluto is. Now, I don't know if many of you know this, but Pluto has a very strange orbit. You can tell by this picture that it's off of the ecliptic by several degrees, and that at certain points, it's not even in our ecliptic. Like if you really, really zoom out, look at that. Pluto is crazy. Pluto also does this thing where it will come inside of Neptune's orbit for a short time. And that is going to happen. So we're going to zoom out a little bit on this solar system. I just want you to see that. So don't worry, Pluto and Neptune won't actually touch each other, but they'll be within each other's orbit. Now I want to show you one more thing, and then we'll watch these planets dance. Look at where Pluto is. It's right there. It's about to cross our ecliptic, meaning it was over here, and now it is moving to below our ecliptic from our perspective. I'm just going to go up a few years so you can, or back a few years so you guys can actually see. I got to move this guy out of the way. There we go. So you guys can actually see where Pluto's been. Look at that. So we're going back 10 years. That would be Sagittarius right there. That's 20 years. So now we're going back up to 2024. Holy smokes, look at that. Pluto is about to literally go into the underworld, you guys. I don't even know if you understand how crazy this is. So there you have it. That's why Pluto is so important, because Pluto is not only crossing into Capricorn, but it's also crossing our solar ecliptic from its wonky orbit of the sun. And it's almost like it's crossing a node, right? You know, the lunar nodes, that's Pluto literally crossing its own node. Wow. Let's zoom into the middle of the solar system here and watch this transit of Venus and Mars from Earth's perspective. So we're just going to sit right here on Earth a little bit, and we're going to watch Venus and Mars and Pluto, okay? We're just going to go up. Got to move Earth a little bit. See how they're getting closer and closer together from our perspective? That's why we call it a conjunction, because as we sit here on Earth, this is what we see. We see these two planets getting closer and closer together. So this is not just some weird spiritual woo-woo magic. This is literally the bodies in our solar system moving around our sun, which has an influence that is hundreds of millions of miles, and we're in that. And the Earth has its own orb of influence, and these planets also do too, and they interact with each other in this amazing dance. And here's why I really wanted to talk about Mars and Venus, because this particular Venus cycle, we're about 15 months in. We have 5 more months until Venus goes into her superior conjunction with the sun and starts a whole new cycle. And the beginning of this little short that I'm about to show you starts at the beginning of the cycle that we're in. It started in October 22 of 22, and it ends this year on June 4th of 24. So Venus became a morning or an evening star at the beginning of her cycle. Now you can just watch her go through. I kind of sped this up. So you can see as she moves through all of these, she's already crossed over Pluto once this cycle. So she's done it once already. She's crossed over Saturn. She's crossed over Neptune, Jupiter, Chiron, the North Node, Uranus. And here she is trying to catch up to Mars. And this was last summer. This was July and August. Look how close she gets. They get so close. She gets so, oh, but then she turns retrograde and becomes a morning star. Okay, so now Venus is the morning star. Now she's gone back direct. And this is November, December. This is where we are right about now. Watch what happens. She overtakes Mars right there on her second lap with Pluto. And then the eclipse comes right here in April. And then she ends the cycle in a superior conjunction with the sun. So that's what we're watching. That's the bigger cycle that I'm into. That's why I call myself a Venus specialist, because I watch these cycles so closely, and you guys have seen my videos. I'm going to leave a link to this for you guys so you can watch it again if you want to. You just click in the description and you'll be able to see it. So let's get into some astrology. Okay, since I've rambled on enough here. So let's just dive into this a little bit. This is the beginning of the transit as well. The sun is in Capricorn. Here is Venus just within the orb of Mars. Y'all can see that, right? So here is Mars, here is Venus. This is February 5th. and they are within 8 degrees of each other, so they are getting closer. Mars is also within the orb of Pluto, so they're all kind of interconnected when this transit starts. So we're just going to go through the month and watch what happens. So there it is. Mars goes over Pluto first. Venus crosses over Pluto the second time, and then the two unite on the 22nd of February, and then they begin the separation. Right, and it's, you know what, guys? It's also right when like, the sun conjuncts Saturn. So there's a lot of really interesting energy in the sky during this transit. We're going to go through Venus and Mars and what that energy is going to feel like, how we might actually experience it. Okay, and they actually separate when Venus steps into Aquarius, which is where Saturn lives. Okay, guys, this is cool. Ooh, here it is, the transit grid. So we're not going to look at sun and moon or any of that stuff. We're going to get down to the Venus and Mars transit so you guys can see what this looks like astrologically. And I stayed into the program too so that we could potentially open a chart if we needed to. All right. We're going to go to pen. And I'm going to undock this because I need to move this thing. There we go. Okay, so we're talking about Venus and what she's going to be doing, and we're talking about Mars and what he's going to be doing. And what I want you to notice is that their patterns repeat each other. They get closer and closer together. So Mars, during the last full moon we had, was where Venus is at the beginning of this transit. So he was conjunct Mercury. They were squaring the nodes, and now Venus is in that position and Mars is a little bit more forward. Okay, so Mars, the first action that Mars takes within the orb of each other is a sextile to Neptune, and then you'll see Venus follow and do that about a week later. Okay, then Mars makes his conjunction with Pluto right as he enters into Capricorn on Valentine's Day, and then Venus does that 3 days later. So you can see their actions are getting tighter and tighter, and then their conjunction perfects on February 22nd, which is right here. Then, because Venus is faster, she starts doing the aspects first. So Venus will square Jupiter on February 24th. 3 days later, Mars will square Jupiter. And then Venus will sextile and trine the nodes, also squaring Uranus February 29th to March 3rd. And then Mars will follow doing that right after on March 5th. Okay, so you can see how Mars is first, but then when Venus catches up to Mars and they do perfect their conjunction and she moves past him, she begins to take on these energies first. And that's a dynamic that I really wanted to make sure that you guys understood before we get started. Like, I haven't even started yet. This is basically like an introduction. All right. So this is like, so what is Venus and Mars? What is this energy, right? So Venus is the divine light of creation, right? She is the force of creation, the energy that flows through the structures of the universe and creates what is divine. Whatever is in the imaginal mind of the creator, she is that force that is available to make that creation a reality. And Mars, so that's divine feminine energy. It allows, right? It doesn't strive. It doesn't have a will, so to speak. It just exists. And that's divine feminine energy. Whereas Mars is sacred masculine energy. It's strength, it's honor, it's courage. It is the structure that holds things. It is the wisdom that knows all of creation. So it's the mind. It's almost like sacred masculine is the mind and the divine feminine is the heart. And when the two are together in a cohesive, unified energy, creation is limitless. You can do anything. You can achieve almost anything. And the fact that this is happening in Capricorn, which is the sign of achievement, it is that goat climbing the mountain, the fish at the bottom of the sea, seeing the very top of the mountain from the bottom of the ocean, and literally transforming half its body into a goat so that it can climb this mountain and achieve what it's set out to do. Now, Capricorn energy without a goal is very restless. It tends to disperse its energy. It tends to focus on things that don't work. But if it has a focus, if it has a goal, if it has something it needs to achieve and it knows what that is in its mind, uh, then you can't stop it. So to have that brave, courageous, striving energy of Mars and that inspired, juicy, creative energy of Venus together in Capricorn as they pass over Pluto, like the god of the underworld, where we're reborn from, where we resurrect from. It's just an incredible time. So that's really the underlying energy of all of this. Half of it is spent with, Jupiter sextiling on Saturn as well, and so everything just kind of falls into place. We just have to be careful of over promising, and I'll get into that when they square. So let's get into these nitty gritty energies. We'll basically do Venus in the nodes here. Then we will cover how they both act as they sextile to Neptune, because you're going to feel that. You're going to feel those two polarities within Neptunian energy coming together. Then they contact Pluto a little bit closer together. So you're going to feel that death, rebirth, transformation energy very, very close together. And then when they're in Capricorn, they join, and it's going to be it really just feels like it's going to be a magical surge of energy. So Venus squaring the nodes, just like Mars was here when we had that full moon, clearing the way for the Venus energy, making a path for the creative energy to flow. If you think about water just running down a mountain, it just kind of goes in any crevice, any the easiest path, the path of least resistance, and that's creative energy. It goes through the path of least resistance. But you can actually harness water to be powerful enough to serve a purpose or to work for you, and that's what Mars energy does. It basically channels the creative energy. Says, okay, I have this much water and I need it to go here at this pressure, and so it'll create a straight and narrow channel for all that energy to flow. And so Venus is now flowing into this energy. It peaks on February 5th through February 7th. All right, so this allows Venus to fill this space. There's a warm creative light of divinity about to face the truth and the transformation of Pluto. This is basically the last gate before the sacred union of these primordial polarities. Venus also trines on Uranus, just like Mars did 2 weeks ago. Yeah, about 2 weeks ago now, once this energy comes in. Mars faced the unexpected and was able to surprise himself with the action that he was able to take on. And so now Venus brings in an acceptance of a true love of the unusual and the strange and the freedom to choose. So it's almost as if she's walking into a magical, unique garden, or or even a store to buy art supplies. Just it's like the most amazing place you've ever been to go and select the things that you need for creation. Think of like Neo in the Matrix going and saying, "Yep, I need a red Suburban, and I need 12 dozen roses," and it just comes to you. And that's Venus with Uranus. It's quick, it's electric. So really focus on your evolution, transcend your fear, and step out of your comfort zone in this energy. And once these guys sextile Neptune, the sky's the limit. So Mars sextiles Neptune on February 7th. That's the peak. So it starts a little bit before, wanes a little bit after. This feels like concrete spiritual guidance and the will to surrender to the the subconscious, to the hyperconscious, to the limitless. Um, Illusions are difficult this close to Pluto, because remember, Pluto seeks out the truth, the ultimate, raw, darkest, ugliest truth. It just exposes it. And illusions with Neptune are it's going to be difficult to trick you, basically. That's how I see this sextile. Like there's an opportunity to do that, but because we're so close to Pluto and within the orb of Pluto, that we just need to bravely face any illusions that we might come upon, and stick with our inner guidance and what our highest truth is. Venus, so that sextile of Neptune ends on the 10th of February. On the 11th of February, Venus will be within orb of a sextile to Neptune as well. So first Mars, now Venus. This is creative ecstasy that's aroused by fantasy. Like, thank God Mars is nearby, because this energy is very, very amorous for Venus energy. We could have true, boundless, formless, powerful chaos without Mars around them. Because this kind of energy, this close to Pluto for Venus, can be very um, what's the chaotic, but also powerful. Like you could launch a ball of fire and not even realize it. But thank goodness Mars is there, because Mars is bravely facing the illusions and keeping the container, keeping the awareness there for the Venus energy. Now they're getting closer because Mars is now exact with Pluto on Valentine's Day. And it is exactly when he crosses into Capricorn. We're looking right here now. So we just did Neptune here. And now we're doing Pluto. Mars is first and then Venus. So Mars peaks on February 14th and Venus peaks on February 17th. So Mars strives towards the goal of unity, right? This is like pie in the sky energy, a fully matured, spiritual, sacred masculine, and a benevolent, loving caretaker of the divine feminine. This is the achievement of Capricorn with this transit. Mars conjunct Pluto can be very intense for both men and women, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Like the masculines that fight with your words, those of you that are very quick with the tongue and can like insult or are very sarcastic, oof, be very, very careful with your words during this time. Feminines allow and hold space for a transformative, nurturing experience, because the masculine side of yourself or the masculine side of your relationships are going to be going through a tremendous transformation. And it can be unpredictable the way that manifests, honestly. It just really depends on where Mars is in your chart, where Pluto is in your chart, and if you have any relationships between those energies. But yeah, it could be unpredictable. It could be anything from like violent to like a complete awakening. That could happen for Mars energy. And we're talking about right here on Valentine's Day. So the divine feminine side of us needs to be nurturing to that and understanding to that. And but it's going to be hard because they're both so close to Pluto. Um, so Venus enters Capricorn 3 days later. And now we have Venus conjunct Pluto conjunct Mars. So now it's intense and powerful for the feminine energy as well. And I really feel like this energy could range from anything from a catastrophic supernova to amazing explosive kundalini energy. Like either way, hang on to your soulmates, hang on to yourself, because this is big. This whole time frame in here, basically once Mars hits it to um, once they hit the square to Jupiter on the 24th of February. So like a good 10 days of just however that is going to manifest for you personally and in your relationships. Um, so that having been said, I just want to kind of jump in here and talk to you guys real quick about synastry. Synastry is a concept in astrology where you can take your chart and your partner's chart and put them together, where the partner's chart's on the inside and you're on the outside. And what that does is your union in general, your energy creates this third energy, and that's what synastry looks at. It looks at how you affect your partner and how your partner affects you. And I do an amazing reading where we go through 12 dimensions of your relationship, everything from libido to money spending habits to spirituality. And there's certain things that you can look at in a chart to give people an idea of the harmonies that are in that third energy and the discordances that are in that third energy. And what's neat about astrology is once you identify that kind of stuff, you can change it. You can alter the quantum mechanics of how those stars are placed so that it becomes a harmony or a unique musical energy that you guys create together because of your uniqueness. So once this explosive time ends, I am going to leave a link for that reading below so you guys can check that out. It's basically 2 natal chart readings and then a third reading that is all recorded. You don't even have to talk to me, but there is an optional follow-up call if you want to do that. So I will leave a link for that if you guys want to check it out. I highly encourage you to do it. I mean, it's like perfect timing, right? It's Valentine's Day. We've got Venus and Mars conjunct. We got a little astrology. I can help you guys out with your relationships. Um, So let's talk about Venus square Mars. This happens after the explosive conjunction of those three planets. This is February 24th. Both Venus and Mars are going to square Jupiter. Venus is going to do it first, and then Mars is going to feel it 3 days later. So I feel like Venus will square Jupiter probably at least 2 or 3 times during her cycles, Mars as well, with the retrogrades included. And individually, we're all very familiar with squares to Jupiter because of Mars energy, Mercury energy. We feel it quite a bit. And squares to Jupiter are not always so bad. It's a really nice energy. Um, so I wonder if it might be more of a square energy between the masculine and feminine energies, either in a relationship or within the self, because Mars is going to be feeling bold, aggressive, and driven. And Venus will be wanting to leave responsibility behind and like luxuriate in all the beauty and everything that's beautiful and bright and wonderful. So, you know, Venus might be able to take the edge off of that aggressive Mars energy, and then Mars might be able to keep Venus from falling into the excess traps that Jupiter leaves for her. So this is an energy where maybe after that explosive lovemaking session that Venus and Mars have, that the two lovers have to kind of come to an agreement or an understanding, because they're both looking at things a little bit differently. So that's from February 24th, where that peaks to the 27th. So the energy will build a little bit before, and then you'll feel it wane off after. Then there is some nodal energy, and then that's it for their beautiful union. Okay, so the first one is Venus trining the south node, sextiling the north node, Chiron, and squaring on Uranus. This you're going to feel this around February 28th, all the way through the end of this conjunction, which is March 9th. But Venus is going to do it first, and then Mars is going to follow. So remember, Mars was first on these energies, then Venus followed. They conjuncted. They had a little argument with Jupiter, and now they're looking at the nodes differently. So before the conjunction, they were both square the nodes, and now they're going to try and sextile the nodes. Now let's go into a chart here real quick, because I just want to show you what this trine sextile looks like, because it's a trine to the south node. And in medical astrology, the south node is very draining, and it's been in Virgo for a while. It'll be there for a little while longer. And I feel like Virgo energy is very draining to me. And then to have the south node there, it's like, ugh, it's like a double whammy of just draining. I just feel tired. I just can't anymore. And so I almost feel like there might be a tendency pulling on the Venus energy to pull back, to just kind of sit in the darkness of the south node, to be drained. But at the same time, there's an opportunity to work towards the collective destiny, the universal love and oneness, which is north node in Pisces. Chiron's there to show us how to integrate our wounds and to just love them for what they are. And that's very Venus sextile Chiron as well. So use this sextile to find peace and serenity. And you might feel like you have to change something because of this square to Uranus. Uranus always kind of pokes us a little bit and makes us do things we maybe think we have to do, but don't, so you get a little restless. You might feel like you'll pop off a little bit. You might feel trapped, but you actually aren't. I mean, you have to, if you think about the oneness and the serenity, there can be a fine line between serenity, contentment, and boredom, where you feel restless and you feel like you need to do something. So just remember, positive affirmations in that energy are always good. It's good to recognize what Uranus is trying to show you, but you don't necessarily have to react. Okay. When Mars does this, just a few days later, that energy for him peaks around March 5th and ends on March 9th, when their orb of influence between Venus and Mars separates. So, Virgo's like that, the energy of mother, of matter, service to the practical, that pulls Mars away from his evolution. It's kind of draining him as well, because he does also feel the call towards the North Node and Chiron. So the Mars energy, the masculine energy that we have, needs to resist the call back to the old energy and remain focused on the healing journey. That's the destiny. I think Capricorn will help these two do this. I think the Venus energy, the Mars energy, the masculine, the feminine are, because they're in Capricorn, they have a focus, they have a purpose. And so I think they'll be able to stay focused, but there might be some draining energy as they begin to separate. Okay. And then Mars squaring Uranus, learn from the feminine. Is it really that bad? Like, are you really that bored and that restless, right? You might feel like cutting things away, but masculine energy needs to show a little restraint. Try to see things in a way that maybe they don't necessarily have to be broken. Sometimes just turning your energy away from something and not giving a crap about it makes it go away anyway by itself. So, where your attention goes, energy flows. Just remember that. So, when you're fighting something, you're bringing energy to it. When you're resisting something, you're pulling energy to it. But if you simply just stop and go do something else, like, you're not giving it energy, and it goes wherever it's supposed to vibrationally go. So I hope that makes sense. So in essence, for Mars here squared Uranus, fight for something. Don't fight against something. Don't hate, love. That's the energy that Mars needs to focus on. So, okay, I think I am done with the astrology. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you take advantage of my compatibility assessment with astrology. It's not a computer program. This is exactly from my reading and my understanding of your natal astrology and your partner's natal astrology. So I'll leave a link down there. You guys can read all about it, check it out, and also, if you are not a member of the Fellowship of 13 Signs on Facebook, come on over there and ask to join. We chat over there all the time. Also, you can follow my Facebook page, Dr. Danny, Physician Astrologer, and I will leave a link to my courses as well for you. All right, so until the next video, namaste, my friends.